the three biggest triggers for anxiety and what to do about it. Number one, focusing on uncertainty, right? No surprise, freaking uncertainty. People hate uncertainty. I listen to people saying, I just need to know one way or the other, or just the idea of the unknown, right? The truth is, life is just always going to have some degree of uncertainty in it. While there's variability of things that are possible, it's really more about the probability of things, right? How probable is something? So with anxiety, that's one of the main things you hear a lot is uncertainty, right? So real things in the world, right? Real things, real threats, potential problems, things that could happen in the future, potential threats. So this is the hallmark of anxiety in terms of what's driving why we feel anxious is potential threats in the future. So when we have more information about things and we reduce uncertainty and we know less probabilities, that's always going to help us feel less anxious, right? So obviously, the more I know, the better I feel. Number two, focusing on things that I cannot control. So a lot of people do this too. They'll feel frustrated and they'll be thinking about either something that's a bit removed from their options of what they can do about it, right? So this idea I cannot control something, or whether it's something with work, relationships with people, or just something that is just generally feeling frustrated. You're trying to achieve something or reduce a problem, if you will, but you're having to contend with something that you cannot control, and you just focus on that exclusively, the thing you cannot control. Number three, overestimating the threat of something, right? Overestimating the threat of things, right? So this is happening a lot with people too. It's kind of like magnifying a problem or kind of catastrophizing, if you want to say that too. But really, overestimating the threat of something, more specifically, is what is the actual consequence? What's the real threat of something? If the actual real fear, whatever you fear or what you're feeling anxious about, let's say it happens. It happens. Yeah. What's the worst thing that's going to happen, essentially, right? What's the best thing that could happen? A lot of times it might be somewhere in the middle, or maybe just not really much of a threat at all, or perhaps there is no threat sometimes. It's a created one. So then logically speaking, if uncertainty, focusing too much on uncertainty of things is one of the biggest triggers for anxiety, logically it would be the opposite, right? To not just focus on uncertainty exclusively, but we need to learn to embrace some degree of uncertainty instead of fear it, because there always will be some degree of uncertainty in life, right? What we really have, once again, are the probabilities. Because once you start to focus and consider and bring into your consciousness, if you will, the forefront of your attention, what do I know? What do I know with regards to things that I control? The second thing, available options of things that I control. So you bring these first two pieces together, the opposites rather, right? What do I know? What do I have control over, particular to any situation, right? What I control within my available options. Because it's when you focus on what you know within a context, a situation, and you act upon things that you have control over, you will feel less anxious. And this is how we manage anxiety. In fact, anxiety has a purpose. It's there to motivate you into action, to actually do things. And that's why you will feel less anxious when you act upon things that you do have control over. Now, to be fair, sometimes the things that are available options may not always be what we need more immediately to solve a problem, and that can happen, but that's still okay. You can focus on things that are healthy options. You could call it a coping mechanism, something that in the interim or meantime will help you feel less anxious, and within a process over time will eventually get you towards other options that are more connected towards solving problems or getting you where you want to be, and then, yes, feeling less anxious. So number three, the third part, logically speaking, what would be the opposite of overestimating the threat of something? Well, we definitely do not want to go on the extreme end and underestimate threats, because that's, not good either. That can get you in trouble, and also make you more vulnerable, and perhaps make you a bit more apathetic, irresponsible. So what you want to do is have a more measured evaluation of what's the actual real threat, right? So for instance, let's say you're at work and you have one of those, you still have one of those phones that when someone calls your office, if it's an inner office call or where you work at, you'll see the extension of who's calling you. So your office phone rings and you see it's the extension of the boss, right? Oh shit, my phone's ringing and it's the boss. And so maybe you start having your heart starts beating a little faster. Yeah, that sympathetic nervous system's being triggered by this internalized idea of a threat. The boss is calling me. It could be something bad. Am I in trouble, right? Heart's beating, right? So, okay, yeah, what's the bigger picture context, right? Bigger picture context. So I've worked here for 5 years. I've never been written up, never been in trouble before. In fact, I've been recognized. I have these certificates, right? Employee of the year, whatever, right? So wait a minute. What's the probability that I'm being called to the office because I'm in trouble, right? Let's say I am in trouble. What would be the worst thing that happens? Well, the worst thing that happens if I am in trouble for something, it's the first time I'm probably just going to be talked to. Maybe worst thing is I get written up. Maybe not likely, right? What's the best thing that could happen? Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the boss is going to tell me something good, like I'm getting a raise, a merit raise, or heck, it might even be a promotion. It might be something positive. Why does it always have to be something negative? And that's a whole other thing, jumping to conclusions, right? So having a rational evaluation of evaluating a threat. What's the worst thing that could happen from anything? Whether it's breaking up with somebody, quitting a job, telling somebody the truth. Hey, I really don't want to go. I feel uncomfortable. I want to stay home this weekend, etc. What's the worst freaking thing that's going to happen to you in terms of an actualized threat and consequences? So a lot of these fears about things, right? And the internalized threat is more imagined and created than it is representative of what actually will happen. So while it is a good idea to have a reasonable estimation of threat levels, just make sure it's commensurate to a rational interpretation, right? If it is a serious threat based on facts and a rational way of interpreting something, well, fair enough. Yeah, you definitely need to think about some things here, and that's a whole other situation, and then how you use your judgment to handle something. So I think you get the idea, right? These three things: uncertainty, things you cannot control, overestimating threats. You got to flip those things around. You got to manage that stuff. So this pertains to what I like to just simply call anxiety based in reality, with actual real things in the world that can be potential threats, problems in the future, or even immediate threats like fear, right? Immediate threats. So other type of anxiety or other types of anxiety would fall in the category of more neurotic or irrational, where you overthink things, you have negative thoughts, it's not based in reality, produces negative, unpleasant feelings, and yes, also some anxiety as well. And in this case, this is a type of anxiety that's more about, well, you just have a problem with the way you think, internalizing things. It's a whole other issue. That type of anxiety, yeah, if you get completely rid of that, that's great. Anxiety based in reality, however, you don't want to get rid of it. You need it. You just want to manage it, because having no anxiety at all can be more of a problem. As I mentioned earlier, you do not want to underestimate real threats. Two, don't want to become apathetic or irresponsible either. Anxiety is your friend, and when you manage it within a context, it's there to motivate you into action to get shit done. In fact, you could say anxiety, when constructively managed, is a superpower, right? It's a superpower. It helps you get shit done, be responsible, handle your business, and avoid threats. So I think you get the idea. My name's James Hunter. If you appreciated this kind of straightforward way of breaking down three things that trigger anxiety and then what to do about it, I appreciate it. If you want to follow, like, subscribe, and I make other content from time to time, whether it's YouTube, sometimes on TikTok, not always on TikTok, but mostly YouTube. I'd appreciate the follow, the like, and I have other content, similar topics. Thank you, and have a good day.